Welcome to the Explainer. You know, if you're a panel manufacturer, especially one that ships overseas, you know that constant headache, the risk of a failed inspection. Well, today we're diving into a new adhesive powder called HPA that's designed to make that risk disappear completely.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll unpack why traditional glues are such a roll of the dice. Then, we'll introduce this new HPA solution and see exactly how it stacks up. After that, we're going to dig into the huge business advantages of it being a powder, walk you through just how simple it is to use, and then finally, see how it all comes together to build a truly risk-free business.
All right, so let's start with the big one. If you're in the board business, you live with this constant worry about environmental compliance, right? And that worry usually comes from one thing: urea formaldehyde glue powders, or UF for short.
And this leads to a super common question, and honestly, a really frustrating one for a lot of people. How come the liquid versions can sometimes squeak by and pass E0 standards, but the powder form, the one you have to use for export, is a constant gamble? Well, it all comes down to their fundamental chemistry.
Okay, so this slide really gets to the heart of the problem. You see, liquid UF glue is chemically alive. The reaction isn't fully finished, so if you add things like formaldehyde scavengers, they can still get in there and absorb the free formaldehyde. But UF powder? It's dead. The chemical reaction is over and done. That formaldehyde is permanently locked inside. So trying to add a scavenger is, well, it's like salting a steak after it's already cooked. It only works on the surface. And that's why, under the heat and pressure of your press, all that trapped formaldehyde escapes and boom, you fail the inspection.
Right, so just trying to patch the problem, it just doesn't work. This is where you need a totally different approach. You need something that gets rid of the formaldehyde problem from the very beginning, not something that tries to fix it at the end. Let's see how that's even possible.
And that's where HPA comes in. It stands for Hybrid Polymer Adhesive, and it's a complete game changer. Using this cool hybrid technology, its entire chemical structure is built for one purpose: to create a super strong bond without needing any formaldehyde at all. Think of it this way. It's the difference between building a house with non-toxic materials from the start versus building a toxic one and just trying to air it out later.
And hey, this isn't just some lab experiment or a theoretical idea. As you can see from this award, HPA is a recognized innovation in new materials. It's a credible, powerful alternative that manufacturers can actually rely on.
So how does HPA really stack up against what everyone's using now? Let's put them head to head and see what happens.
Man, this chart lays it all out, doesn't it? With HPA, you've got zero added formaldehyde, really high bonding strength, and excellent water and mildew resistance. And that last point? It's absolutely crucial for manufacturers in those high humidity climates. You know, places like Africa and Southeast Asia, where delamination and mildew are just a constant battle.
And look, these aren't just claims the company is making about its own product. Nope, they're backed by serious, third-party testing from internationally recognized bodies like SGS and CNAS. That gives you, and more importantly your customers, complete peace of mind.
Okay, so we've talked performance. But beyond that, the fact that HPA is a powder gives you these massive business advantages, especially when you're operating overseas.
First up, shelf life. You get a full 12 months, totally stable. Think about what that means. No more financial drain from expensive liquid glues spoiling before you can even use them.
Now this is a big one. You literally stop paying to ship water. Because HPA is this super concentrated powder, it can cut your transport costs by up to 80% compared to shipping tons and tons of liquid glue. That's huge.
And then there's the yield, which is just incredible. You mix 1 part powder with about 3 parts water and filler, and what that means is a single ton of HPA powder, it makes 4 tons of ready-to-use glue, right there in your factory.
So here's the bottom line, right? When you add it all up, the dramatically lower transport costs, the incredible yield, and the fact that you don't need to buy extra additives like formaldehyde scavengers, your total cost of using the glue drops by 30 to 50%. That is a massive saving.
Look, a new technology is only great if it's easy to use, right? So how does this actually work on the factory floor? Is it a big hassle?
The good news is, integrating HPA is incredibly simple. It's a straightforward process that uses the same mixer you already have. You just add water, then the HPA powder, and finally, some standard industrial flour. The best part? No new machinery to buy, no complicated retraining for your staff. You're ready to go.
Okay, let's bring this all home. What does this actually mean for your business at the end of the day? What's the real payoff?
So what's the HPA transformation really about for you? Well, it's about building a business that's way more predictable and a lot more profitable. It means you get stable compliance you can actually count on, a significantly lower total cost, and you completely eliminate that massive financial risk of a customer rejecting an entire shipment.
At the end of the day, it really just comes down to this simple idea. Remedial action can never beat prevention. Trying to add scavengers to UF glue is remedial action. It's an expensive, unreliable fix. HPA? HPA is prevention. It avoids the problem entirely from the very start.
So the real question is, are you ready to stop gambling with every single shipment? HPA offers a clear path to take all the guesswork out of compliance and build a much more robust, much more profitable business for the future. Thanks for tuning in to this explainer.